Hello, everybody, and welcome to the newest episode of Sadie and Shawn Have No Friends. And Shawn, I've changed my mind. I don't want to talk about what we were talking about before we went on. I said that we could talk about it. And then I said, now I'm saying, I don't know. It does sound so. All right, we'll talk about it. I'm going to just talk about it. Shawn doesn't even have to say anything, and I will talk myself into doing things. So our friend,
tastes like dirt water.
So our friend, Dirty Sanchez, who we both used to work with, he was I was going back and forth with him yesterday, and at the same time, I was going back and forth with Ryan, and it wasn't like insanely, sexy, but it was getting there, and I totally crossed streams and sent a message to Dirty. and,
What did it say?
First of all, he never responded. So that kind of takes a hit on my ego.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of how I could put what was said to him.
Just say what you said all the way.
Okay, I said, which going to Dirty, and I don't think this is that bad, but we could just get a van and take the seats out.
Oh yeah, he probably has no idea.
That's not bad, right? Oh my!
If you would have sent that to me by mistake, I would have been like, "You meant to send that to somebody else. I have no idea what you're talking about."
But what would you think? You wouldn't think in any way Dirty, right?
No, instantly my mind went to, because we talk about this in the band all the time about getting like a band vehicle where we would take the seats out so that we could put musical equipment in it. And so that's instantly where my mind went.
Well, see, so then it wasn't that exciting of a
No, that's
he probably
lame.
thought
You were like, this is so good. That's lame.
I don't know if I guess if I got a text out randomly from someone that said, let's get a van and take the seats out, I would be, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Because now that I say it again, that's not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal at all. Like, I would think you were converting it into a camper or something. My mind, and I'm a pretty like dirty-minded guy.
You didn't even go there?
It would never go there. I promise you that. It would never go to anything sexual.
Okay. Well, that's good. Hey, I was reading earlier this morning. Is there anything you need to say or want to say before I jump into this? Because I want to.
No, I hope Dirty watches this though, because Dirty's name is Dirty, so he is the most dirty-minded guy ever.
So I wonder if he's gonna think that.
No, he didn't. He was probably thinking camping too, and he's probably like, "Dang it! Had I known you were texting something dirty to Ryan, you accidentally sent it to me. I would have had something clever to say." He's gonna be so sad.
I know, I'm so gross and old. I want to read, I was reading this morning about, and we kind of discussed it a little bit in yesterday's episode, that Shawn was a pretty diehard fan of the guy from 90210.
No, I wasn't. You're putting words in my mouth. I
was a
diehard fan of one of his roles. I was a diehard fan, not even of one of his roles. I was a diehard fan of 8 Seconds, the movie, and he happened to be in it. He was the main character in it, so I took a liking to him, but I wasn't a diehard fan of. I never even watched one episode of 90210. It is my favorite movie, but I never to watch. You put it.
You said you had
the guy from 90210. I wasn't a fan of the guy from 90210. I didn't even watch one episode of that. I was a fan of 8 Seconds.
Okay, well, so thank you for clearing that up. But I was reading about how, also on 90210, Brenda Walsh, played by Shannon Doherty, she just passed away. And I was reading, and this made me laugh. And does this make me a bad person? Because I think this is the best part of a funeral, but she was saying for her funeral, she's going to have a list of people where if they show up, you best turn around and get your ass out of here.
They're going to have like a guest list.
So they're going to have, she wanted to have a bouncer at the door with a guest list where it is like, if you were on, see, then I wouldn't go, because I'd be like, what if I got all dressed up and I walked up and they're like, oh yeah, you're on the list twice.
Yeah, but I feel like you would know. If you had any sort of intuition that maybe you're on the list, you're probably on the list and you shouldn't go. And there's a reason that you're on the list and you know what that reason is.
No.
And you shouldn't go.
That's not always true. Haven't you
Yeah,
ever
people
been
don't
kind
just
of
hate people for nothing.
ambushed? But okay, but have you ever done something that you realized was rude and you didn't even think about it? And I mean, has that ever happened to you?
Pretty nice
No, and
guy
then
here.
people don't like you're such an idiot. Well, I don't know. I just read that and I thought that's very brazen of her because usually when people die or are in the process of dying, it's for a lot of people, from what I've heard, it's a lot about peace, coming to terms with this and forgiveness. And I want to let you off the hook for that pain and you're free now. And Shannon Doherty was like, no, we got a list and we are going to kick you out. So I guess that was like a thing. And you know who I think she's going to kick out? Donna, Tori Spelling.
Oh, did they not like each other?
I don't know, I just made that up. I watched a lot of Beverly Hills 90210 and that was an arc for a long time, so but I don't know,
It
I thought it was sad, but to me, when going to a funeral, sometimes the most enjoyable thing are watching the people that you know he hated or she hated, you know what I mean? And if you're in a position where you're close enough with the person who has passed on, if you know them well enough to know like, "Oh my god, she hated this bitch over here." That's to me the most enjoyable part of a funeral.
Why would that person ever go to their funeral? I guess I've never experienced that at any funeral I've ever gone to.
I have been to funerals where I'm like, "Oh my god, that I can't
I
believe
don't
you
understand
showed
why
up."
that person would go, unless they're family, like, if your long-lost sister who you got in a fight with and you hate each other now, like, they kinda have to go to your funeral because 'cause they're your sister, but that's a different story, but, like, if you're just a random person and you were an enemy of this person, why the hell would you go to their funeral?
But what if you didn't know you were an enemy is what I'm saying. What if
Well, then
you
that
didn't
person's a
know?
shithead. If they just talk shit behind your back, they deserve to die.
Because I feel like I miss all the signs when people don't like me. I just I don't know, I just miss every single one of the signs, and I'm like, "All right, see you guys," and then I don't and then, like, 3 years later, I'm like, "My neighbor hates me? Are you serious? Holy
I must be
shit."
the same way because if you asked me honestly, like if we were having a real honest conversation, you're like, name the people who don't like you. I would have trouble doing it. And that's not an ego thing where I'm just like, I'm such a cool guy that everyone likes me. I really don't know. Like if there's somebody who doesn't like me, they haven't made it clear and I don't know.
Okay, but I think a lot of people don't make it clear. You know, they just have this passive aggressive way of dealing with the situation. But what I'm saying is this any is this some but you don't you're as you're saying you don't have any enemies. I don't really have any enemies. But there are some people, and Shannon Doherty was saying it's just about the energy that I want there. And I don't, and that would be
Hmm.
disruptive to the energy of like, goodbye, Brenda Walsh. But also, everyone's looking over at this girl over here. And remember, they got in a fist fight in 1995 and they hated each other. And why is she here? That's true. Then you're taking the energy away from what it should be, which is saying goodbye to Brenda Walsh.
I mean, that all does make sense. I get what you're saying. It's probably on a whole different level when you're a celebrity. And there's a lot of people who probably wanted to ride your coattails to either some sort of fortune or some sort of fame or just the coolness of saying that I'm good friends with Shannon Doherty because she's Shannon Doherty. And that's a different scenario than just a normal person who dies.
I think it is sad though that the 90210 cast they're dropping like flies. And but Luke Perry was my favorite, so when he died, I was just like, well, shit. Jason Priestley, I don't give two shits about that guy. Xander Zinging or whatever the other fuck the guy's name is, Ian Ziering. Is that his
He's
name?
the one with the curly hair, curly
Yeah, and
blonde
he just
hair.
got in a fight with like a biker gang, but the biker gang they were like tiny bikes.
Did
I
he
need to get
die?
off of TMZ.
Did he
No, he
die?
didn't. Well, he could have died. These little tiny folks were kicking the shit out of him on the side of
Oh,
the street.
dang.
Oh yeah, you should look it up. It's
That's
I
crazy.
really do.
I don't
I do need
know.
to get up to that.
I really don't know a whole lot about 90210. It just wasn't my thing, but I will tell you that my dad, who if you know anything about my dad, it's this is weird. But growing up, he was obsessed with 90210. I remember it was a thing every single night that it was on. I feel like it was weekly, maybe it was biweekly. I don't even remember, but I do remember as a kid, it was very important. It was a task that had to be done every single week where you would put in the VHS tape to record the episode of 90210, and sometimes it would get messed up and it was devastating for him.
Oh,
It
shit.
it
I
was
know.
like it was a very important for him to watch every episode, and then Melrose Place came out, and it was the same deal. Like, it was
So
one of the most important things. Truly, like, I should ask him because I don't know how important it truly was, but m my childhood perspective is that it was one of the most important things in his life that he recorded 90210 or Melrose Place on VHS tape and was able to rewatch it after I went to bed.
so what you're saying is for a solid 20 years, Fox 31 had a pretty good chokehold on your dad's schedule.
Yes, but we lived a pretty busy life. Like, he was pretty active in all sorts of stuff, and bowling mostly, and so we were never home when it was on. So it was a thing. They, as a matter of fact, it got to the point as I got a little bit older, I was trained how to set it so that I could set the VCR so that it would record it if he wasn't able to do it. And it was a big task. Like, it was much more important than taking out the trash or cooking dinner or something like that. If I
Like,
was in
move,
charge of making
kids.
sure 90210 was getting recorded, I knew that I could not jack that up. I had to get it right.
Wow, that is like a really interesting fact knowing your dad. As little that I do know him, he's such a sweet guy, but that makes me laugh. And now every time I see him, I'm gonna have to say something and maybe bring up a fight and he'll know what I like.
Oh, he
Let
will know.
let Donna graduate. He'll know what that means. And that makes me very excited to see him again.
There was also one little tidbit of, like, memory of a kid that I have from the whole 90210 Melrose Place thing. If I remember correctly, I was young, but, there was a nude scene in one of them, and, like, in the '90s when that happened, it was a big deal,
In
and he was like,
90210?
or Melrose Place, one of the 2,
Ooh.
and, of course, my dad recorded it, and so most people just watched it live, and they hadn't seen it. Like, if it's like Janet Jackson, if you missed
Yeah,
it,
I
you
mean, that
missed
would
it.
yeah.
Yeah, but he had it recorded because he recorded everything, and so he was telling all his friends, like, "I got it, you can come over and see it." And so I don't remember, like I said, it's such a small little
So
tidbit
did
of
a bunch
memory,
of
but
dudes
something.
come over to watch the Melrose Place nude scene on a
At
Tuesday
least
night?
at least one couple, I feel like, came over and they were like,
Ooh.
"Alright, we gotta see it, play it for us."
Did they bring a pineapple that was upside down?
I
Sean's
don't
like,
know
"I
why I got
love
sent to bed early
pineapple."
that night. I was like, "Dang it, it's only 7:30. My bedtime is 8:30. Why I gotta go to bed?"
Like, "Drink this pineapple juice and shut up. Don't come
Uh,
downstairs no matter what you hear." Yeah, Melrose Place, that'll turn you on, that show. But it's funny to think back to that time because it's true that if you miss something, you miss something. And I remember growing up, there were times where there would be something on like TV, like Full House or something, and I would be so excited. And then my mom would be like, "We're going to dinner at the Golden Corral," which usually I'm like, "Hell yes, we are." But except for nights when your show was on. And when you were a kid, you just had to go with it. But as an adult, I remember uh like planning shit around shows. And then TiVo came out and it was like, oh, the stranglehold has been released.
it's so crazy, but we never got TiVo either, so my dad just kept recording shit on VHS tapes, and it's just wild looking back on that because 'cause you're exactly right. I was obsessed. They used to do this Friday night thing, and I don't even remember what channel it was on, but there was, like, a game show, and then it was what was that show called? Um, the one kid he was in high school, and they had the teacher, and they were all friends.
Zach, Zach. See, I know characters. Say by the
Uh,
Bell.
no, it wasn't Saved by the Bell, but it was very similar to that. I'll think of it.
California Dreamin'.
No. Anyway, long story short, I was obsessed with that show so much so that I can't remember the name of it, but, Friday nights, like, I wanted to watch it, and so you wanted to watch it.
Baywatch?
I didn't my no, I did like that one too for different reasons, but, my dad had the VHS thing already taken because he was recording Melrose Place, so I had to watch it live, so
Oh.
I missed out on a lot of good shit on Friday nights because I wanted to watch that show.
Again, your dad had a Fox 31
Boy
took
Meets
him
World.
down.
Boy Meets World. That's what it was called. Boy Meets World.
Oh, okay. I went to
That's
high
a
school
good
with a
one.
girl that dated Boy Meets World boy. what's his name? Wonder
Mhm,
Years' brother. See,
mm.
even when they were dating, I was like, Wonder Years' brother guy? I know everybody's brother in Hollywood. I don't know if I've mentioned Ashton Kutcher's brother is living in my neighborhood. And so I don't know why I attract the brothers of everybody, but again, another funny thing about the VHS tape is it was when I had Sophie 19 years ago, it was kind of like you had like a handheld camcorder, right? Like there wasn't a phone that would take a video. And
Mhm.
so when I went in to give birth, my sister came and her job was to record the birth, and
Ooh,
she
people do
did.
that?
Yeah, I know. Now I look back and I'm like, why would I want to see that? Like that is
I didn't know
that
that
is
was a thing. I'm
wrong.
not I really
Yeah.
didn't know that was a thing. That's kinda gross.
Well, it's like some people, it's like a miracle of the start
Yeah,
of life and
that's one
childbirth.
of
And
those
I don't
things
know.
where you don't need a rerun, like, one time watching that is good for me.
Dude, you're telling me. No, so I have never had the need to watch it because I'm like, train wreck. But Sophie, now being an adult herself, she's like, are there any more pictures of me at the hospital or you giving birth? And I'm like, not really, because there weren't iPhones. It was like
Right.
you'd bring a clicky camera that you throw away. And I'm like, but wait, my Aunt Katie, she recorded your birth. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. She's going to actually see herself coming into the world. And my brother-in-law Jake went hunting and taped over the birth. I shit you not. That was I
I
had
I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for Sophie, but if it was me and my mom was about to show me coming out of that, I'd be like, dang it, Uncle Jake. But thank you. Thank you for saving me from that.
or what about when Jake went back to watch his buck that he killed and then all of a sudden he's like,
That
what's
would have
that?
been bad news. There's Sadie's vagina.
He's like, "I remember there being blood, but this is the worst thing I've ever seen." He was catatonic for 2 weeks, and then he came out of it. But no, so she was, like, bummed out. I agree. I don't think I'd want to see footage of my mother pushing me out as well. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, and, you should just kind of not think about it in life. But she had the chance, and yeah, then halfway through, and I'm pushing probably to 4 centimeters, where shit gets hard. And then it's like a field, and there's a deer running around. It's like, what is this? Ah, crap. What are you gonna do? You didn't take any pictures in like the room?
Yeah, after the babies were born, but like of the upper extremities of
Yeah.
yeah, there was nothing of the actual birth. I
I told
honestly didn't know. This is the first I've truly ever heard of anyone recording down there or taking pictures down
I
there,
know.
like, that's the first I've ever heard of it. I
What
do
if
know
it's
of
not a
taking
thing?
pictures
What if
and
it's not a thing and my family's just psycho and I didn't even know it? And I was like, yeah, bring your camcorder. And I also, am getting a colonoscopy next week. Bring your,
yeah, come check it
like,
out.
what is this? Maybe
Yeah,
it's
that
not a
seems
thing.
like a very private thing. I gotta be honest, like, there's some people that and I shouldn't speak to giving birth because I know that that's a very intimate thing for women, and they get mad when men speak of it, and I
Wow.
understand that. But if I was a woman and I was giving birth, it would be a very private thing for me, like, I wouldn't want my mom, my grandma, my aunt, my sister, anyone in there, like, watching what's going on down there. I would be like, "Hey, be at the hospital, please. Wait outside the room and then come in when the baby's out. But this ain't a show. Like, no one's coming in here to
I
watch."
They had to bring a stadium seating situation in when I had
I
children.
kinda figured. That's why
I
I bring this
had
up.
I have 2 sisters, and I had to have my sisters there because they were, gonna film it, and they had an important fucking job, nailed it. They were gonna film it. But you're also filming it's not like you're just, like, filming that part.
I
You're
know, but
filming, like,
still.
I'm gonna be a dad in an hour, and it's like all that goofy stuff that you can look back on. Again, looking back, she's an adult now, and I have no desire to look back at videos like that. I'm okay. I feel like I remember what I need to remember, but that was a thing.
I wonder if it's more of a thing now. I mean, with everyone holding a phone in their pocket, I wonder if you just pop that bitch out when mom's popping that bitch out, and it's right there handy if you want to take video. It's much more likely that it happens in this era
Yes.
than in your era. I don't know.
I
That's
mean,
weird
we
to me.
had like a camcorder bag. It was like zip, zip, zip. Make sure it's charged up the batteries, and then you take the batteries and you put them in the camcorder. I mean, this was not messing around. It wasn't all at your fingertips.
Did
And
you did your family record everything? Did you like record Christmas morning and everything on your camcorder? Do you have all that stuff?
no,
They only recorded the birth. That's the only thing that
I am realizing this as you're saying how weird this is. This is incredibly weird because I'm trying. I think we did like one or two Christmases, but anytime someone gave birth, it was like, who's got the camera?
huh. Maybe this is more common than I realize, but this is truly
Or maybe it's not.
maybe
And
it's not.
I
If
need
it's weird, it's real weird though.
well, you know what? I think have we talked about this? But you know what my family would also do is take pictures of people in their casket at their funeral.
Yeah, you did tell me about
And
that.
that's a thing,
That's
right?
super weird too.
That's weird.
Sometimes people post that shit to Facebook, and I'm like, dude, I didn't even know your grandpa, but I don't want to see him dead.
Yeah.
It creeps me out. Can you
Yeah.
not?
Well, no, it used to be again. Now with cell phones, you can see a dead body at the tip of your fingers. It's horrifying, but it used to be, I mean, grandma would pull out the Polaroid camera and it would be like, boo, boo, the picture come out. She'd be waving it around, waiting for it to develop. And it would, and then my parents, I know, still have photo albums with dead people in them. It was like, oh, that was Uncle Ricky and he was a drinker and I'm like, oh, gross.
I don't like that, dude. I clearly
Can I
through
start sending
listening.
them to you? I'm gonna see if I can
No,
just start sending dead people.
I'd rather get dick pics than dead people pics. I
Yeah.
just I think I've made it pretty clear in this podcast in the 120 whatever episodes we've been through that I'm kind of a wuss, and I just get the heebie-jeebies about shit like that. When I go to a funeral and it's open casket, and thank goodness I feel like that's a little less common than it used to be. But when I go to a funeral and it's open casket, still as a 30-something-year-old dude, I can't. I just
Can't
I
walk
don't
up.
look. I definitely don't walk up. I
Oh,
don't
you
look. I
don't?
hate those ones because some of them they'll parade you
Yeah,
like
it's like this
you
row.
have to walk by to go out. Yeah, this row, go say your goodbyes. And there's some people that like kiss on the bodies and stuff, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
I don't even want to look at it, and you're putting your lips on it.
Did you ever in your life, though, even as a child, find it fascinating?
Mm-mm.
When my
I was
grandfather
instantly.
died, I touched him because I walked up through the Catholic, rigmarole, and, I touched his face, and he felt like a silly cold silly putty, and that just made me sad, and just the smell of the chemicals, I wish I would not have. And then listen to this is fucked up, and I don't even know if I should tell this, but she was a wonderful woman, but my grandma, she went to a Broncos party, and then she came home and she was sitting on the couch reading and she fell off her couch and she died. But she had a heater on, one of those little space heaters. So she landed by the heater. And then they didn't find her for like 2 days.
Oh,
And so I was there when they came to get her and they're like, "Do you want to say goodbye to her?" And I'm like, "No, because that's so fucked up." She goes, "I wouldn't want to if I were you." And I'm like, "No. Isn't that fucked up?"
it's really, yeah,
And
but
then I'm like, maybe I should, Shawn, but what if I do? Because there was this morbid curiosity, and I loved this woman. She was like my best friend. And I'm like, I kind of just want, because what they were saying was the blood had pooled a certain way, where then the face was like black, and then
oh yeah.
singeing of hair from I mean, it wasn't the best. But there was a part of me that thought, this is it. And she was like, "Are you sure you don't want to go up and say goodbye?" And I almost did it, but I think I'd get scared and chicken out. And that's what I did.
I would not be regretful of not seeing something like that. My grandma was my best friend as well, and I was there with her. She
We
was
were losers growing up.
yeah, it's true. I lived with my grandma for like 3 years in my adult life because
My
I loved
grandma
her so
lived with
much.
me in her adult life, and I took care of her. She was my best buddy.
Well, at least you took care of her. My grandma was still taking care of me. I was like 25 and she was still taking care of me, but I got my shit together. Anyway, I was there when she passed away. She was sick and we knew it was coming and she was
Yeah.
in like it was going to happen any minute and I wanted to be there for it. And I was totally fine with her. She was basically in a coma and everything. I was fine, 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 fine. And then the minute happened where she passed away and something instantly clicked in my head and I was just like, I can't be around it. I can't like something about a dead body. I can't be around it. And this is maybe me convincing myself that it's okay, but that truly isn't how I want to remember the people that I love anyways. And so
No.
I have plenty of memories up here that
So,
serve
okay,
as
because
good
my
memories.
dad
I don't want to have the last memory of my grandma being her laying dead in a bed. And so the minute she died, I just didn't I stayed for a while, but I didn't look at her anymore.
because she wasn't there anymore. We're
Yeah,
so deep sometimes, and then sometimes we're just the worst human beings in the world.
it's been a long time since we've talked
Well,
about dead people. I'm happy this is back.
I have to tell, we got an interview coming up, and I'm very excited, and it has to do with dead people. So that's coming up in the next couple of episodes. But my dad is at an age where he really doesn't go to funerals anymore. He just won't do it because he has it's upsetting and he just doesn't see the need to do it. And so he really doesn't go to funerals anymore. And he just says it makes, it upsets me and I just don't
Yeah.
like it. And do you think maybe one day you, Shawn, will just say, I'm not doing this
I
ever
think
again?
it's getting closer. This is weird for me to say because I don't talk about it very often, but I'm like this because we did a really sad radio event together every year where we talk
Yeah.
about kids with cancer and raise money for them. And like a lot of these stories are really, really sad. But I was a cold hard asshole, but I didn't have a whole lot of emotion. Like I was sad inside, but it didn't ever make me cry. Like I just didn't show emotion very well.
Can I
And
just pause that story right there just to add really quickly in that when we did do this, it was super hard working with Shawn because he would look at me and then I would look at him and then he would kind of smile and then I would start kind of giggling. And the third person in the room is like really digging deep in his emotions and crying. And I'm looking at Shawn like, don't look at me. Why are you looking at me?
yeah, we had some
We
trouble
were
there.
idiots. We were
We
just
were idiots.
idiots. Go ahead.
But and I wouldn't even call it had trouble because I wasn't trying to hide my emotions, they just didn't happen. But
Yeah.
I've noticed lately, like in the last 2 or 3 years, I've went to some funerals of people that I wasn't even that close to, like they were distant family members or friends of friends,
Yeah.
and I find myself like an emotional wreck, and I'm like, "What happened to me?
Oh,
What changed inside of me?" There was one specifically where it was my great uncle, and I spent a little time with him as a kid, but we were never close.
yeah.
Like, it just wasn't I wasn't even close to his kids, really. There's no real connection to me and him other than being blood. And, dude, I was so sad at his funeral, it wasn't even funny, and I'm just
Where
like,
they were like, "Is Shawn drunk? What's going on?"
well, then I find myself almost, like, not trying to hide it, like, everyone's
Oh,
crying,
but
but I'm
you
like,
probably like, "This is weird. Why
yeah,
am I
it's
feeling
weird
this
for
way?"
me. I'm more weirded out than anyone else. I'm just like, "Why? Why am I so sad at this?" Like, I didn't cry this hard at my best friend, my grandma's funeral, and it's weird. I don't know what changes, but, I
I
guess
have
as you
like
get
a
older, maybe
delay
your emotions
well, I have
and
like a delayed situation where during a funeral, I won't cry. And I just won't feel the need to cry, but then, like, 2 years later, I'll think, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna tell grandma to come do this with me." And then it'll, like and I'm like, "Holy shit." And at this time now, it's been, like, 15 years since she died. And so it's been a long time, but I still find myself doing it, and then that's when I'll kinda cry because 'cause I'll think, "Oh, I don't get to do that again." And why does that stuff happen? Do you ever have that where you're like, "Oh, I gotta call my grandma?"
yeah. It happens often for me, and I shouldn't do this, but I block it out because I don't wanna be
Oh, see,
sad, and
but
I
that's why
it'll
you
ruin my
cry
day.
random.
Well, it'll ruin my day, and so, like, when I think about my grandma or something comes up where I feel like I need to call her or I haven't talked to her for a while, this is really cool, I should tell
Yeah,
her about this. I instead of, like, diving into it, I
yeah.
no, can't think about that because it'll mess up what I'm trying to accomplish right now.
Yeah.
And that's a disservice to her probably, like,
Like,
keeping
'cause
her
you don't
memory
wanna have a
alive.
memory. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
I'm
think it's also
blocking
really
out good
nice. You know
memories.
what? And that's why I think you're breaking down at your uncle so and so's funeral, who you're not even that close to.
You
Do you
got it all
think so? You're,
bottled
like,
up in
holding
there.
it in. Yeah, you gotta I don't
Maybe,
know.
maybe that's it. You know what really gets me at those funerals though? I've noticed, like, I've tried to figure out, like, why? Why is this happening? It's I think before I was so focused in on the person that died. And
Yeah.
by the time the funeral happens, it's days, weeks, sometimes even months after they've passed away, and you've already had time to process the fact that they're gone, right? And so
Right.
I guess I had already cried out all my tears, if you will, for the person that died. Well, now what I've noticed is the reason I'm crying is I've been more focused in on their family members, the people that were close to them, and watching the like true sadness that they have. That's what gets
Yeah.
me every time.
Right.
Anyway, if you see me at a funeral and I'm bawling my eyes out, it's normal now. It's just part of my life. So to answer your question in a really long roundabout way, yeah, I'm kinda like your dad. I might stop going to funerals because I don't like it.
Yeah, it just makes him really bummed out, and he just likes to remember the connection that he had with the person, and then, of course, if it's somebody where, like, my mom needs support or something, he'll go, but, like, if it's a friend and somebody he's known for a long time, he a lot of times he just won't go. And you know what? I was just reading the other day, that when Chris Farley died, he was super, super close with David Spade, and David Spade didn't go. He was like,
Really?
I can't go. I can't do it. So I think that this is kind of a common thing. I think there's just the pressure of people who are like, you have to go. You have to go.
If
And it
I
is
can
nice to show the family support. Like, look at how many people this person touched and are here, but I think it's also okay, Sean, if you just kinda wanna step out.
it'd
Unless
be
it's
kinda
me,
cool to
motherfucker, then I want you there with
oh god.
flowers, I want you throwing rose petals.
It'd be kinda cool if
I
we got
just
rid of the not got rid of, because some people might want it, but if we transitioned from a normal funeral, like the traditional funeral where you sit down in a church and you listen to the sad songs and you watch the slideshow, and you went to, like, more of a party, like, I want people to come remember me. I want people to come have a good time remembering me,
That's
though,
what
like, don't sit
everybody
in the church,
says, but
but
I
then
can
we don't do it.
I know, I was gonna say that's everybody's like, "I don't want sadness, I want laughter." And then you go to their funeral and you're like, "Well, they didn't plan very good because everyone's crying, and where's the beer that you said they'd have here?" I mean, I don't really want anything. I don't really want a service. I just wanna be cremated, left at
That's it.
Target.
It's over.
And that's it, it's over. There are
There
so
has
many
been more circumstances here recently too that I've noticed, like 4 or 5 of my family members that died that just nothing happens. It just they
well,
died,
you
there's
know
no
what?
funeral, there's no service, there's no party, there's nothing. That's just they're gone. We're not doing I asked recently about one of them who I was relatively close to. I was like, "We're gonna do something for them?"
Yeah.
No, nothing.
You
They didn't
cold
want
ass beat.
anything. It's just
Well,
over.
you know what? Here's where I think there was that turn because we had a really good friend. He was actually in a groomsman in our wedding and he died. And it was 2020. And it was in the
Oh,
height
yeah.
of like, we're not doing funerals, guys, because no one can be around each other. And so I know like three people who died during that time who just, yeah, never had a funeral. And last I heard, his brothers were like going to put something together, but this was like in the fall and they were looking at the springtime. And I'm like, oh no, this is going to fall to the wayside. And it did.
Hmm.
And I feel bad, but
We lost a mutual friend during COVID, and they weren't gonna do anything, and then they did, and it was weird because it was in the height of COVID,
yeah,
and this guy was well respected and very well known, and so a lot of people showed up, and at that point, we didn't know what COVID was still, and we were told we weren't supposed to get together, and so it made everything really awkward, and you didn't know if you could touch anyone or go around anyone, and
isn't that weird?
yeah.
How weird we were. He got out at just the right time. He was like, "This shit's weird. Bye." And that was, but I guess if we're talking about services that are kind of uplifting, I would say his was a really uplifting. Like it was very cool how they did it. So
Yeah, I agree. Alright,
anyway,
good talk. Okay,
good
bye.
talk. God dang it, Shawn, slow down. We want to thank our friends at Christiana Salon and Spa. Go to christianasalonandspa.com and make that appointment. My God, has school started yet? It hasn't. So if you need a deep tissue massage, well, drop your kids off at one of those free church camps. It doesn't matter the religion, really, and go get a massage. And if you mention our names, you're going to get 10% off. Can you beat that? You cannot beat that, Shawn. That's a great deal.
That is a great deal. My parents used to drop me off at those random church things. Seriously,
too.
I went to like 17 different church camps in the summertime, and I think it was because my dad was watching Melrose Place, not going to get a deep tissue massage, but he doesn't know what he's missing out on.
Well, the great thing about 2024 is you can bring your phone, turn Melrose Place on demand, and get a rub down at Christiana Salon and Spa. So everybody wins. And also, we want to thank the wonderful folks at Casey's Pest Control Services. They are the ones that they sponsor the Pet of the Week. Go and check out the Pet of the Week. Bluest Eyes in Texas. That's the dog's name. I just gave it to him because it's got blue eyes. Go check it out and be sure to subscribe and like and comment. And goodbye.
That's the dumbest dog name I've ever heard of. Okay, bye.
Blue